one more video outside. Hello healers and health seekers, it's me, E. Choda, healing with medical medium information for 4 years now. Healing from mast cell activation disorder, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS dysautonomia, hypothyroid, PCOS, SIBO, gastroparesis, migraines, and a whole host of other symptoms and conditions. Links are in the description box below if you want to know more about that. Today it's time for What's Up Wednesday, and that's when I come in here and make a video about what's been going on in my healing journey with my stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's talk about it. Okay. I think it's been a couple of weeks since I posted a What's Up Wednesday, since I posted a healing update and about my journey. And if you're wondering, and if you're new here for some reason, I have healed over 115 symptoms and conditions, or am healing, or have found improvement in some way, often drastic and often in complete elimination of. So I made videos about that. Those are also in the description box below if you want to know more about that. And it's a healing journey, not a destination. So things are still coming up out of my liver, and things are still coming up to be healed, and there is still healing to go. And to me, this is a way of life. Like, my healing is a way of life for me, and that is totally fine with me, and it'll change here and there now and again, and that's fine. I've been following the medical medium information for 4 years, and what that means fluctuates. There is not any one medical medium protocol. There are thousands, as he has said multiple times, and my version of it has been different. And sometimes I have done the cleanses, and sometimes I don't, and I just eat the healing foods, and none of that is bad, and none of that is wrong. It's all okay, and it's just where I am at any given time. So currently, I'll get the food stuff out of the way early. Currently, because I always talk about my food and what I'm eating this week or this past couple weeks. Same as before, it's summer, so I'm having lots of melons. So every morning, lemon water, 32 ounces, followed by a half hour later, 32 ounces of celery juice, followed by either, a lot of times I'll have like half a melon blended up or eat it, or today I have papaya blended up, I'm having that. And then after that, I will have my heavy metal detox smoothie, and then I'll I've been making this potato salad that I posted on Instagram. It's so good. It's originally somebody else's recipe, the main Sue's, and I just did my own tweaks to it. It's really simple. It's potatoes, obviously, and steamed peas, and you take half of the steamed peas and you blend them up with lemon juice, honey, garlic. That's what I do. And the other half you just put in the potato salad, and then you use that as like the sauce. And I also add dill to it as well, fresh dill. So that's what I've been eating. No salt, no fat. And that's how I've been eating for a while now. No salt, no fat. So I'll have the potato salad often, or a smoothie, and then the potato salad. But I've been having that potato salad a lot lately, like for the past week, every day. It comes into my day somewhere. Yeah. And today I picked a bunch of fresh lemon balm, and I am making a jar of lemon balm sun tea. The sun has not hit. I started early. I started everything early today. I got up at like 4:30. So the sun hasn't come up the hill yet and hit the sun tea, and it will. And once it does, it also will hit all my tomatoes. And once it does, it'll make the sun tea. I'll have it later on. I'll put some raw honey in it and have it before bed. I love me some lemon balm tea. I have these 3 big, beautiful pots of lemon balm. And the more you harvest, the more it grows. So That's like 2 cups of lemon balm fresh in that jar. It's good stuff. Okay, so that's been my food lately. And a month or so ago, I did do a round of the updated 369 cleanse, and then the original, and then 2 rounds of the advanced, and then I did a 789 round of the advanced. And that day of the 9, I overexerted myself in the morning, which was super dumb. You guys don't look. He says rest on day 9 for a reason. It's because you should not be doing anything that requires any exertion, because you will mess up your whole day. And I did. I messed up my day, and I couldn't go to sleep that night because I couldn't stop thinking about potatoes. And finally, I mean, I really couldn't sleep. I was starting to have insomnia. I was like, this is crazy. So I did end up getting up, steaming some potatoes, and I haven't been back on the 369 since, but I'm eating a lot of cleansing foods, so that's good. I haven't posted a What's Up Wednesday in a while, like a couple of weeks or so. I don't know. And the reason, or any videos for that matter, and the reason is because I really was going through it. You know those planets in retrograde, you guys? There's a few planets in retrograde right now. Mercury is one of them, and I had some I was having some emotional stuff coming up from the cleanses, obviously. I don't know, that might not be obvious to everybody, but so usually when you do a cleanse done right, aka a medical medium cleanse, when old stored toxins get released out of the liver, with them get released old stored emotions, because emotions get stored with those toxins. Whew. And that can be intense. And that started happening for me. And then another thing happened. A really difficult event happened. Everybody's fine. It wasn't a health event. It was an emotional event. And I had to process it, and I had to figure out what happened, because it was something that happened with me, and it was something that scared me. It was something emotional that happened with me, but it scared me because it was like a big kind of dark swirly situation, and I kind of lost some pieces of it, and I kind of lost some pieces of some other things leading up to it, and it scared me, because losing pieces of memory, especially like, it's one thing when you're young and you're healing on this path, and you're like, you sort of have your whole life ahead of you, and kind of know that things are gonna heal for sure. I can't lie. I mean, part of what led to my memory issues and all that stuff in the beginning was that I had a concussion, and it was not the first concussion I've had in my life. I mean, it was the first one in like 20 years, but it wasn't the first one I've had in my life. So I probably in my lifetime have had maybe a total of 4 concussions that I can remember. Because concussions affect memory. None of them were serious or severe, at least, according to medical testing. None of them were serious or severe. They were supposed to be not too devastating. But what they told me with the last concussion, and I had literally just turned 40, so this was beautiful. They told me with the last concussion, women over 40 often have a stronger likelihood of having post-concussive syndrome, which means that your concussion symptoms last a lot longer than they're supposed to, and can affect your life, which is what happened to me. They said it's much more likely, especially if you've had previous concussions, and if you're a woman over 40. And I was like, well, I just turned 40, so does that count? And apparently it did. In medical, your body doesn't care about that, but So now I know that so many of my symptoms, all of those neurological symptoms, were viral because of Epstein-Barr virus and shingles and other pathogens wreaking havoc in my body. And I understand that. I understand that the virus was causing a lot of the neurological symptoms. I know that previously a medical medium has talked about, he'll say something like, if it's not because of an injury, then blah blah blah, viral, blah blah blah, right? So he'll talk about the pathogens and stuff like that. And he hasn't talked about concussions he hasn't talked about concussions. And he's been doing these Q&A lives lately, and I keep asking about concussions, and I'm apparently not the only one, because people keep chiming in saying, I want to know that too, I want to know that too. Because I'm basically asking about, if you have a concussion though, can your memory loss still heal? Like, because is it that the memory loss is still neurological symptoms that are still needing to heal, or is there something about traumatic brain injury / concussion that can make something more permanent? And that's what I want to know. I want to know, like, is this, because I am a certain age, I'm of a certain age, right? So it does make me a little bit more nervous about the memory stuff, because I know the memory stuff is heavy metals and viral, and I feel like it can be healed, and I want to fully believe that it can fully heal. And when I still have those symptoms, when I still have it come up occasionally where I do have that, like, I don't have the greatest short-term memory. I just don't. And I often wonder, because, 4 years in, I'm like, is this still, neurological viral that can be healed? In which case, great. I hope it is, honestly, because I'm doing all the right things for that. And, just do some more 369 cleanses, or do some 28-day cleansing, or, do more cleansing, and I can help that. Or is there something about traumatic brain injury concussion that can kind of lock it in? It worries me, honestly. It's one of those things. It's not like I have total blackouts or anything, but I definitely have had times where I've forgotten things that I was like, how could I have possibly forgotten that? And there's times where I just forget things kind of, in a normal way, where it's just like, I'll remember them in a minute or whatever. But there have been times where I've kind of forgotten. Yeah, just things that I just thought, how could I have forgotten that? That was, and it scares me. It just scares me a little bit. So, honestly, any kind of long-term memory loss is scary, as in I shouldn't say it that way. I should say any kind of chronic memory loss is scary. Because it's not long-term. Well, honestly, long-term memories are a little hazy as well. I've had people contact me on Facebook and be like, oh, you remember when we used to hang out and all this stuff? And it's like, it's not somebody I just knew in passing. It's like, this is somebody who was like a part of my life for a while, and I won't remember them. I've had that happen. But before my chronic illness, like way before my chronic illness, I had, and there is a name for this, I don't know what it is, but it's where, it's not face blindness, but it's like I think it's related to that, where sometimes I couldn't remember people if they were out of context. So if I knew somebody from a certain context and I might see them in another place, I wouldn't know who they were because I knew them from a certain place. And I will give you this weirdest, scariest example of this. And again, this was way before my chronic illness. This is when I was still fully functional and all that stuff. But I worked at a place. I laugh when I think of this because I'm just like, how? I worked at a place for like over 5 years. Okay? Every day, go in, see my boss, whatever. I worked there full time. over 5 years. One day I'm in a store, it was like Pier 1 or something. A man walks up to me and he goes, "Oh, Choda, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing?" And I looked at him and he looked vaguely familiar. And I thought, I probably should know who this person is, but I don't. And I just didn't think that it could possibly be somebody that I knew well. So I said to him, "I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time remembering who you are." I said, I know you, but I can't think of your name." And he looked at me like I had grown a third head. And he said, "It's me. I was your boss for like 5 years." And I was like, oh my gosh. Because to realize, and the other thing about it is, so at this place where we worked, like we did have, I guess, kind of a uniform. Like we had shirts that we wore. So he was always in this same white shirt every day, you know, but I had actually gone to an event outside of work with him at one point. So it's not like I had never seen him not in that outfit. Like I had seen him in other clothing, in like normal clothing. And so it was so weird for me to be seeing him in the store. Like he was just like, "What?" Like, cause he was like, "How can you not know me?" Like it hadn't been that long, and he'd been my boss for 5 years. I'd seen him every day. So he was like, "It's me," you know, like he's looking at me like, is this some kind of a joke? Are you kidding with me right now? And I was like, I wasn't kidding. My brain couldn't remember who he was because he was out of context. We were in a store, not the store we worked in. You know, we were in a store that was not the place we had worked. And my brain was just like, nope. I did the same thing with a classmate from college. And this was a classmate that like I hung out with all the time. Like I liked this person. He was so cool. And I hung out with him, and we hung out outside of class. Like we would kind of do like group events with a lot of the members of class, and we would go places together. We'd go hang out outside of school. And so I knew this person, and it had been a little while since I'd seen him, maybe a few months, not very long, like a little while. Been maybe a few months since I'd seen him. And one day we walked in, it just so happened he worked at Home Depot. One day we went to Home Depot and he was there, and I realized the second I saw him that I couldn't remember his name. I had hung out with them all the time. I knew this person. You know what I mean? Like I knew him, but because he wasn't in one of the environments I had known him from, and he was in this whole other environment, unexpectedly, my brain was like, I don't know. And I was like, come on. And at the time I was pregnant, so I was just like, oh, pregnancy brain, I can't think of your name. But I felt so stupid saying it because I knew this person. Like I knew him, you know, like I really liked him. Like he was a cool person to hang out with. And so I'm like, and I felt so stupid. So that was another time. It happened. It's happened a few more. I'm not going to tell you every single time it's happened, but I can think of a third one where, again, every single time it's happened, it's been super embarrassing, because I'm sure it's like, are people sitting there thinking like, oh, what a jerk she is. Like, how could she, pretend she's not remembering me? And I'm like, I'm not pretending. My brain blanks out on who you are because you're not in context. And I know there's actually a name for that. It's like some kind of syndrome or whatever. I don't know. There's a name for it. It's a thing. It's a real thing. It's a medical thing. I didn't know then that it was a medical thing, and I didn't even realize that I had it, except for those things happened. And then I was like, why did that happen? Like, it doesn't usually happen. But I realized, like, sometimes I don't recognize people out of context. They'll look familiar to me, but I'll be like, I don't know why that is. Social media, nightmare. I don't know who has texted me. I mean, I know on my phone who has texted me. I shouldn't say that. Often I don't know from, like, if people are DMing me or messaging me, unless I have a sort of established a relationship with that person where we've messaged back and forth, and then like somehow that'll solidify them in my mind. But like if I had to try to recognize people between like their icons or remembering them by name, if somebody was like, oh, who messaged you that? I don't, Instagram, you know, because to me it's like it all kind of blends together, and I hate that because it makes it harder to navigate stuff. It definitely makes it harder to navigate stuff. So, anyway, I forgot why I started talking about that. Memory issues. So I've had previous memory issues before even the concussion, although that was definitely after other concussions. So, I don't know, maybe that was, but that's why I want to know. Is this neurological from viral and pathogenic activity, which I can totally cope with because that means I can heal from it? Or is this something that's like kind of a permanent injury? Do I have issues? I mean, I know I have issues, but is the concussion, like what is concussion separate from? And I'm guessing that he doesn't talk about, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to speculate. There are certain subjects he doesn't talk about, and I understand why, because they're hot button controversial topics, and it's like they're sort of keywords and they'll get him, it paints an even bigger target, you know? So I get it. I want the information to flow freely, and I know that he does everything in his power to get it to us, and he already takes so many hits for us, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful. It makes me tear up just thinking about what Anthony William goes through as a human person on this earth that none of us have ever had to experience to the level that he does. Like, I can't even. I'm so incredibly grateful. So memory's been a little bit of a concern. A big emotional hit recently that kind of left me reeling. I think that the cleanse itself actually was bringing up some like old wounds, old traumas kind of thing. And one of those sort of old wounds is that whole like voice that tells you you're not good enough and all that stuff. And I think that kind of hooked me. It's ironic that I had just made a video about like getting hooked, and then I got hooked. I got hooked. I got hooked by that. I was trying so hard not to, and I was really struggling with it, and then I really got hooked into it, and I lost my self-compassion, and I lost myself for a while. Like, I gauged. Now, I got to give myself total credit here because I am so, like, this is just the way I live now. So I never diverge off of the way I eat. I don't diverge from healing foods. I don't. Emotional eating has kind of always been a thing for me, but now when I emotionally eat potatoes. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm having a really hard time. I need more potatoes. Like, so I'm like shoving steamed or baked potatoes in my face. Like, that's my whole emotional eating. It's not as, it doesn't really stuff things down, like you can't, because I can't overeat at all. I really can't. Like, my body gets so incredibly uncomfortable if I even somehow manage to overeat, but there's a natural, like, nope. So it's just not the same as it used to be when, like, I emotionally turned to unhealthy things, fats, no foods, stuff like that. Just eat a couple of potatoes and then I'm like, okay, that didn't really do anything. I mean, it does actually. Potatoes are great when you're going through emotional stuff, but it doesn't stuff anything down. But yeah, I got hooked and I got caught up in that, and I lost compassion for myself, and I was really spinning out. I mean, I contemplated deleting my entire channel. I felt very isolated and alone. I was trying to reach out, but only kind of. And then I did for real. Like, I did reach out to someone, and she talked to me, and she was like, you better not delete your channel. Like, that's straight up what she said. She's like, you better not delete your channel. That's not okay. And she was like, she just kind of talked me out of it. The other thing is I'm an external processor. And when something happens to me, you may have noticed I'm an external processor because I process everything here. Not everything, but I process stuff here too. I'm so chatty. When I have something happen, there's these different facets to me, right? Where I have this kind of OCD analytical brain. When something happens to me, it wants to figure it out. It wants to analyze it, and it just wants to understand. It wants to understand. It's like a compulsive need to understand, and my brain will latch onto something, and my soul would like to just integrate what it needs to, and move on and let things go. But my brain my brain gets hooked into things. It gets hooked into things. I have found that if I can just verbalize it and speak it to somebody and process it externally, it gets out of me, and then I can move on and do what I need to do and function again. But if I don't have somebody to talk to, and I've tried journaling, and it sometimes can help, but a lot of times it's not enough. Like, I need to speak. And if I don't have somebody to talk to, or I feel like I can't talk to somebody or whatever, and it just stays in me, it will fester. It'll get worse and worse and worse, and my brain will just spiral around on it. And I was already not in a good place, and then this really emotionally traumatic thing happened, and I was already spiraling, and then it just made it way worse. And then I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to. The person that I would normally talk to about these things has been like super busy, and I couldn't talk to her, and it just took me a while to realize, like, maybe I could reach out to somebody else, and I finally did. And when I did, the relief was incredible, because I just felt, it took like a couple of times, but just talking to her and just getting it out of me was like, finally, because it had been swirling around in there and just getting worse and worse, and it was a mess. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to delete my channel and everything. And she's like, you're not going to do that. She's like, you need to have compassion for yourself. Like, she's like, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm hearing a lot of, you're not saying nice things about yourself. And she's like, that's got to stop. And I was like, I know, I'm really hard on myself right now. I'm feeling that way. And she's like, no. She wasn't having it. So honestly, she was really like the exact person I needed to talk to, because she is a very compassionate person. And it is, I don't know if you guys have listened to the Medical Medium radio show on SoundCloud called Compassion. It might be called like The Importance of Compassion. I'll link it below. I can't see my memory, man. My memory, I'm telling you. Anyway, the Medical Medium radio show on compassion, but he talks about how if we don't have compassion for ourselves, it can be ignited. That somebody else having compassion for us can spark that self-compassion and can get us back to having compassion for ourselves. And I have 100% found that to be true. Every single time I have lost compassion for myself, or forgotten it, or whatever, started going back into that old wound of being hard on myself, every single time, if somebody just is like, says something, says a kind thing, says a compassionate thing to me, like, it just builds me up so much, and it helps me reignite that compassion for myself and realize, like, okay, you're right, I am being really hard on myself, and it's okay to just go through this, and this is going to pass. That helps too, having somebody remind you, like, this is temporary, this is going to pass. Like, it might seem right now like it's staying, but it's not gonna stay. It helps so tremendously every single time, and I'm infinitely grateful for this medical medium community, because I have connected with so many incredible people who have just, for whatever else I've gone through, it has been so worth connecting with the people that I have connected with, because I feel like it has given me so much and helped my healing journey so much. And yep, there's always going to be something along the way that comes and knocks you in the head, whether literally or figuratively, but just being able to reach out to somebody and say, hey, remember how you said that if I ever needed somebody to talk to? Well, I really need somebody to talk to. And having them be like, all right. Sorry, I'm getting a little moved by it again. A little moved to tears, but it's just been so profoundly healing for me to have that. And I wish that for everybody. I wish that for all of you. See, that's the gift that social media does give, honestly, is that knowing that there are others on this healing journey, and that you can just reach out to them, and they're kind people, and they're compassionate people, and they have been through it. I mean, people in the medical medium community have been through it, and they get it on a level that nobody else does. And when you're talking to somebody like that who's been through it, and that understands, and that still has found compassion for themselves and others, it's soul healing, man. It really is. It really is. I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up. I don't mean to cry. But it's profound. It's really profound. Whew. So this past couple of weeks has been, holy crap, man. I know everybody's going through it too. That's the thing, is I know everybody's going through it. That was part of the thing. I didn't want to reach out to anybody, because I'm like, everybody's got their own struggles right now. I can't be asking anybody to listen to mine, like, I gotta figure this out myself. And then, yeah, don't do that. Just don't. You're not helping anybody, really. If people don't have the capacity, they'll tell you, they'll tell you, or they won't answer, or whatever, and then you reach out to somebody else. You can never get the help if you don't ask for it, you know what I mean? It's really worth reaching out to somebody. I can't recommend it enough. That's what I want to say about that. So yeah, it's been a week. It's been more than a week. It's been a month. It's been a while. I don't know. It's been quite a time lately. I hope and I pray, and I really hope and pray that you are not experiencing this kind of intense, heavy stuff. But if you are, I will say it does pass. It will pass. It has to. Nothing stays the same. And if you have the capacity at all, please reach out to somebody. If you're anything like me and you need to process with somebody, it just makes a difference having somebody to talk to, and who can just hear you, and who can be there. It's everything. And my garden makes a huge difference too. Look. Can you see? See the yellow ones? They're starting to ripen. My garden has made so much difference in my sanity lately, because even when I was struggling my most worst, my garden needed me. It had to have my attention, and I needed to come out here. And so what I do is, because it's been so brutally hot here lately, is I come out early in the morning. So I get up, I'm drinking my lemon water, I'm outside. I come out to my garden, I check out the tomatoes and see if they need attention, and I look at all the plants and see if they need attention. I do what needs to be done out here. I weed or whatever. Having my garden to be in and to focus on and has lifted up my soul and spirit so much. I have gotten to know all the pollinators out here, or most of them. Sometimes new guys come and I don't know what they are, but I try to look them up if I can. There's a couple of bumblebees who pollinate everything for me. There's an orchid bee. There's some sweat bees who have been busy this whole time. I've got my little skipper out here. There's a wasp who I think takes care of pests for me. It's so cool. I love this wasp. It's this brown wasp, and she's awesome. Or he, I don't know the gender of wasps. Oh, little squirrel. I don't know the gender of wasps. Oh, little squirrel. Stay over that way. You've got plenty of food in the woods, right? Please don't come over here for tomatoes. I don't want the squirrel to eat my tomatoes. I've always loved bees, but I've always been not too keen on wasps. And this wasp has given me a whole new relationship with wasps, because this wasp is totally gentle, just hangs out in the garden, doesn't do anything, doesn't mess with me, I don't mess with it. And it was taking shelter in my lettuce, and that was really neat. And it just would kind of gently fly around me, not doing anything, not messing, just hanging out while I'm out here. And I feel like that wasp has helped me. I don't know if wasps apply to the bee meditation, but I feel like they do. I feel like that wasp has actually helped me a lot. And being out here with the insects and the critters and the pollinators is just so peaceful. And you hear the bird song. I mean, that's a constant serenade all day of all these different kinds of birds. There's cardinals and Carolina wrens, and I don't even know. There's so many birds here because of that wooded area back there. It's incredible. So if that's something, if you can get yourself out in nature, and if nature is just your backyard, because that's I walk around the neighborhood, but I don't go anywhere, and this is nature for me. I'm really fortunate right now to be here in this place with this wooded area behind me, because it is so healing just to sit out here. Okay. Tell me about your week, healers and health seekers. I want to know. Oh, I hope you're not having the kind of situation I've been having. I hope things are going well for you. I hope your healing is going well. Look, please, if you go through bumps in the road on your healing, don't let it deter you from your healing journey, because what keeps me going and what keeps me able to power through things, or not power through things. Sometimes I'm a crying mess on the floor and I'm laying in bed for a day. I don't want to give you any delusions of what it's like, but I'm human too. I go through it. But what does keep me buoyed and supported and able to bounce back is the healing foods and supplements, and knowing what I can also do to support myself, like extra lemon balm and things like that. And looking into what foods would support me best right now. What will help lift this mood? What will help? And going into life-changing foods and figuring that out. That helps. That really does help. It kind of helps me to have an anchor, and it helps me to keep a focus, it just helps keep me going, to know that it's no matter what, I am still I'm still with this. I'm still doing this, and I'm still staying on this path. I'm still eating these healing foods, whatever. Even if if I gotta eat potatoes all day, that's fine. That's still healing food. He's got a mono cleanse and cleanse to heal. That's potatoes all day. So as long as I get my celery juice in, it's all good. Thank you so much for watching, my healers and health seekers. If you like this video, give a thumbs up below. You can subscribe to my channel by hitting that subscribe button over there. You can ding the bell next to it if you want to be notified when I post new videos. I have a fairly irregular upload schedule, so I do recommend that if you want to be notified when I post new videos. I wish you so many blessings on your continued healing. I wish you so many blessings on your continued healing journey, my healers and health seekers. Stay curious. I love you, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.